Hey guys, Max Matern here with DealerPoint.io, and I am extremely excited to be sharing with you the very first application that we have built on DealerPoint. And before I show you the app, though, I want to give you a little bit of a background on it, why we built it, kind of what the purpose of the whole thing was. So I'm going to use this chart to explain it. You see, we've been studying customers now for the last 3 years. We have studied 50,000 units from purchase through their services, ultimately until those units trade. And so I wanted to discuss a little bit of what we're seeing in those trade cycles. Now, the first thing you could probably see here is that we're going to be looking at a financing term of 60 months, because for our financed customers, that's the most common term we're seeing in powersports. Now, what we're going to do from here is look at important milestones in the life cycle of a major unit. So we obviously would start the most important step as the unit purchase, when they actually buy the original unit. Now, the next big milestone for any customer is going to be the first service. That comes in about a month, 2 months after the major unit purchase. Then after that, we have them coming back for their annual service, about a year after that first service, or usually 16, 17 months or so after the initial purchase. Now, the next big milestone in the data we've been studying is actually around the warranty expiration. The majority of units we've studied had a 24-month warranty. These were a lot of on-road units. And so after this big milestone for that customer comes their annual service. So for most customers, the warranty is expiring just before that annual service comes up. So interesting little timeline there. Now, the next big milestone, if we're continuing with the annual services, would put an annual service here, about 40 months or about 3.3 years of ownership. Now, when we actually look at the average customer and the average dealership, how long we have that customer showing up and coming back to us, it isn't actually this entire lifetime. Most of the customers that we study actually only show up for about 1.1 years, which means that most dealerships are keeping customers up to the first service, but we're losing them after that. And I think a lot of it comes from the fact that the warranty expires prior to that additional service, so why continue to go back to the store? Now, why that is important is because that third annual service that happens at 40 months also aligns with the most common trade point. The highest trade potential that we're seeing is about 40 months. Now, this is specifically for those 60-month terms, and I think one of the biggest reasons is you can see how much equity that customer has in the unit. The value of that unit is way ahead of the balance once we reach that 40 months, which gives us a great opportunity to finance and trade that unit in. Now, we're not getting there for most customers, though. For most customers, we're starting this relationship, we're getting all the way to that annual service, and then no more communication at all. So, this application that we're talking about, what we call today's top 5, is all about figuring out how we continue to engage with that customer over and over and over again in different ways to make sure that they're having a good experience, they're remaining loyal to us, and ultimately getting them all the way to the point of that high trade potential. So that's the theory behind it. Now, let's go into what it actually looks like and how it actually works. So here's the platform as you know it, right? You've got the dashboard, the customers, and now you can click on this top left button for apps. The first application we're going to utilize right now, and the best one so far on the platform, is today's top 5. Click on Get Started, and what it does is that it will create exactly the perfectly mined customer list for each of your departments. One for sales, one for service, and one for parts. Now, when we look at the trade-in leads, this is actually using our trade probability calculation as well as equity. So we are identifying customers who we know have positive equity, we know are loyal, and are most likely they're in that sweet spot of trade probability. Now, there's a couple buttons here that you will see. We can click on Quick View, and we will see more information about that customer, about their unit, about how much equity they have in that unit itself. The next one we have is a Swap button. Let's say this customer maybe no longer owns the unit. Well, we can enter in some information on why we are skipping that lead, and that will basically immediately provide us another lead in that same spot. We will always have 5 available in this list. Now, the last thing is Done. Once we click on Done, it will not only log it into our system, but it will log it on today's top 5 of the top. So we will know how many of the calls have been made. So you can go through, check them off, swap them out if we need to, or just look at them here. Now, when we look in service leads, not only do we see customer loyalty for our new list of customers, but these are ones who are right for their first services or annual services. They're right in that perfect timeline for it. We see the last time that they visited the department so we can know what it is most likely they're coming in for and what we need. We can obviously look up the customer as well, find out more information about that customer, and same for swap and done. Now, accessory leads are mined specifically for customers who have owned the unit for approximately 6 months. And the reason why we want to do 6 months is that is when a customer has owned it long enough. We're potentially entering into a new season with this, and it would be a great time to call them up and ask them, what do you not like about your motorcycle or your side-by-side right now? And as a parts and accessory specialist, this is the opportunity we can improve that, tell them what accessories are there, what things will make it even better, and start checking those off the list as well. Now, the reason why we call this today's top 5 is that we wanted it to be manageable. We wanted to make sure that all you had to do was call 5 people a day. If you call those 5 people, that we're going to continue to engage that life cycle for these customers and keep them around for longer. Now, that does mean that every single day that you show up, new mined customers show up in that list. So start doing your mining, make your phone calls. We're going to be tracking the re-engagement of those customers, and we're going to be improving this algorithm every single time you do that. So thank you so much for this incredible idea. We are now building on it. We're providing it back to you. And if you have another great idea on a thing you would like to see on DealerPoint.io, let us know and we'll build it for you. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you again next week for yet another new feature.